as rate hike fireworks on Wednesday largely looked through one key element: housing risks. Some observers warn that could be a critical oversight. Earlier, Queen's University professor John Andrew explained the dangers of just one more interest rate hike by central bank policymakers.
I think yesterday's 0.25% increase on its own won't really have much effect. But I think if there is another one, as many people are anticipating there will be, and sometime in the fall, I think, there's a significant proportion of the market, people in the market, who really think that sub 3% mortgage rates are normal. And I think this will really shatter their illusion and psychologically will really signal to a lot of consumers, a lot of homeowners, that rates will continue to climb. And I think that could have a significant chilling effect on the market.
And you're talking about correction, correct?
Yes, that's exactly right. You have to remember that over the past few years, with the kinds of price increases we've seen in major markets like Toronto and Vancouver, really what's happening that's different from what used to happen years ago is that home buyers are borrowing every possible dollar that they can. They're completely tapped out. And so the concern there is that, well, if you're on a variable rate mortgage and your interest rate goes up even, half or three quarters of a percentage point, that could put a great deal of stress on a lot of homeowners. And for those on fixed rates, when that renews, typically 5 years into the mortgage, that could be very problematic for a lot of borrowers.
So, assuming at least one more hike this year, how large of a correction are we looking at in your view?
It's really difficult to say, and if you look at our largest market, the Greater Toronto Area, we've seen a dramatic change just in the last 2 months because of the Fair Housing Plan policies that the province of Ontario brought in. All of a sudden, it shifted very strongly from a strong seller's market to a strong buyer's market. Sales have just kind of dropped off completely. Everybody's waiting through the summer now, it would appear, to see what happens. So it'll be really, really interesting. We could see that one effect of yesterday's rate increase could actually stimulate the market. We may have a certain number of first-time home buyers who have been sitting on the sidelines thinking that prices are going to continue or will begin to drop for the first time, now jump into the market saying, hey, you know what? Looks like interest rates are going up. We better lock in that mortgage at 2.9% now rather than wait even a few months when we think that interest rates will be higher.
Interesting take. Were you surprised by the fact that there was essentially no mention made of housing by Governor Polas or Deputy Governor Wilkins yesterday?
No, even if that was the only thing they were concerned about, the governor's never going to say that publicly. Their only concern is supposed to be the inflation rate. And they've been quite disciplined over the last few years, I think, in not responding to rapidly escalating housing prices. I'm not suggesting that's really what their prime motivator was in increasing the rates yesterday. I think they're trying to head off inflation that they're predicting is coming down the road because the latest numbers on the economy are that it's firing on all cylinders. However, if this has a cooling off effect, no pun intended, for the summer months on the housing market, I see that as a positive thing in the short term.
And what kind of impact do you see on a more sensitive market like Calgary, where the economic recovery is still quite delicate?
Yeah, and you hit on an excellent point. I mean, we tend to focus on Toronto and Vancouver, thinking that Canadian housing prices are all, they've all been going through the roof, but that's not the case at all. There are markets in Canada, Calgary being the best example, that have come down quite a bit in response to local economic conditions. And that's the problem with a Bank of Canada rate and all of the mortgage lenders, immediately responding by putting up their rates by virtually the same quarter percentage point. It's a broad brush that affects all markets in Canada, and that is problematic.